71, we have to go to 61, China. 71, Nagoya, Japan. Could you believe that? The lady who at Platinum became the world champion 71 and said, you French.
My friend, yeah, my friend.
And they see you, the person who she became the world champion.
I see.
I wept. I said, oh, we are wasting our time here.
So in Japan, you played.
Oh, yes.
As for that one, you were ready to play.
Japan, there I was ready to play. Hey, the girl who defeated me became the champion in the Affirmative Latin America. The girl who I defeated in the team became, it wasn't on my lane.
Yeah.
Draws. She became the Affirmative champion. It's from Korea.
I see.
Oh, things happening. I was on top. I didn't know. I did.
Yeah. And then when you started believing in yourself, you were beating everybody. But what I saw, I read in the Hall of Fame, you were unstoppable.
Yes.
What was your biggest strength?
You know one thing, I don't know how it came about it, but a coach is there coaching you. Well, when I'm going to play, I'll be sitting there watching at my opponent like this. You will see me marking something. I don't know what I'm marking. But later on, I got to know that I was watching the player, the backhand, the cover. He didn't play there. Oh, the forehand is weak. So these are the notes.
So you were really good at reading your opponents and marking strategies for them.
I'm sorry to say, not the coach who is teaching me that. If you're up to today, when I get to the hall, when I look good, then I'll call the coach. I think, watch this person, this place. In the weakest.
We've added a GPS address and additional information that can direct you from this room right on your GPS to the site for verification purposes. So we are trying as much as possible to use modern technology to disseminate information that is watertight, that anyone from any part of the world can verify. Thank you.
So a lot of discussions here has centered on the media and the need to make sure that their work will not encroach on the rights of others. But there has been a lot of attacks on media houses. Now I'll give you some details here. On October 7th, 2023, a group of 20 individuals stormed the studios of UTV during live broadcasts. They are assailantly intimidated, and the program had to be stopped. January 13th, a group of about 12 thugs attacked Radio Ada. Same circumstance. In May 2022, 3 men on a motorbike attacked Radio Brenya in Elmina. In January 2021, unknown individual breached security protocols at xylophone. On May 11th, gun-wielding security officers stormed the premises of CTFM and also attacked journalists. And the list goes on. It's a long list. Minister, this is very serious. What will you do to ensure that the perpetrators of these brazen attacks on the media houses, the 4th estates, whose work is guaranteed in our own constitutions, are brought to book, and to ensure that they are punished?
Thank you so much for the question, Honorable Chair. I would like to, even in case of UTV, the Honorable Minister for Information at the time, my boss, Honorable Kojo Opon Nkrumah, the perpetrators were arrested. They were put before the courts. Final judgment was given and they were fined. In the instance of Benya FM in Central Region, I personally reached out to the management of the station. I reached out to the district commander. I was informed at the time that an arrest was made. I am yet to pursue to see whether a final decision of the court or judgment has been passed in that particular case. In the case of Ada FM too, the same thing. So anytime there's been an incident, the Ministry of Information joins hands with the journalists, first of all, condemn in no uncertain terms any acts of violence or threat of violence. We also encourage them to send the matter to the police so that the investigations can be done. We have even gone a step further in the past 3 years to set up the Office of the Coordinated Mechanism for the Safety of Journalists in conjunction with the National Media Commission. I must say that that office requires a lot more assistance in terms of funding so that its operationalization will be successful.
With the Minister of Information, a very sensitive ministerial position. The President is now given the responsibility to look at the LBGT plus law that has been passed, to sign it, and the whole Ghana, a majority of Ghanaians are waiting for the President to sign. Now, if the President sees you are the one who is going to communicate government's position. The President asks you for his advice on whether to sign or not to sign. And don't tell me that the President will not ask you. He can. But knowing you, you can also give us your own faith in terms of this LBGT. Why you think it's important the President should sign?
Honorable Chair, first of all, if there is any attempt to introduce our children to any sexual orientation that is not known to our Ghanaian culture and traditions, I join the whole of the country to take the necessary steps to make sure the children are protected, to make sure the space is protected. But let me say here again, Honorable Chair, that with the specific reference to the Proper Family Values Bill, I have not seen the final drafts. All that I have heard or seen are speculations in social media. And Honorable Chair, respectfully, in this day and age, it is difficult to take news from social media and form opinion on it. The bigger question is that, as the President mentioned, that his engagement with the diplomatic community.
Let me just help you.
Okay.
Yes, the Parliament has finished its work. In a way, amendment leading to the final. So obviously, the final document is going to be out. But I can assure you, the first Deputy Speaker is here. Unanimous decision of Parliament. Don't wait for the final draft.
Please don't take that advice. Wait for the final draft. Read it yourself as a lawyer and form your own opinion if what you advise.
Last one. The National Media Commission writes to National Communication Authority, insisting that the licenses of Onua FM and Onua TV be suspended. They wrote a letter. In your view, do you think this is in sync with Article 167 of our Constitution regarding the functions of the National Media Commission?
Thank you for the question. Honorable Chair, please, in this specific instance, the matter has not come to my attention, and I'm hearing it here for the first time. Thank you. So please, with your kind permission, I'll go and look for that letter and see the reasons that were stated.
It's in the public domain. I will encourage you to look at it. And so you want to do that. But I wish you all the best.
Chairman, I made a request.
Yes, rank him.
Chairman, for a follow-up, but you said it should finish first. Okay. In the process of answering a question on free SHS, you made a comment which resonates with me in terms of those of us who come from a disadvantaged background. I have just two questions for you. Yes. When did you? Oh, you see, I kept it short. Yes, you came from the same background. When did you go to secondary school?
Honorable Chair, I attended secondary school at Kumasi Academy from 2002 to 2005.
Was free SHS in operation at the time?
No, please.
But you were able to afford it?
I was one of the few families, kids from the community that was able to.
Today, do you need any money at all to attend secondary school? Do you need money to attend secondary school?
Honorable Chair, in terms of basic access, you don't need money to attend secondary
What do you describe as access?
Basic access as in, for instance, if you live in a community and there is a secondary school that you can walk from your house to the school fees is catered for, the teachers are catered for, you do not require to make any formal contribution to access the school. But I will admit that, for instance, if you are going to a boarding school and you would require to put together your chop box and buy your toiletries and your provisions, you would require money to get that complementary items to be able to attend school.
You know that up to 2016, you need less than, school fees for boarders was less than 1,000 Ghana cedi. But today, you need more than 5,000 to buy only the items to go to the school. Do you know that?
Well, these are matters of fact, and it depends on which school you're going to.
Because
please,
the chairman,
the
because she's a minister of communication. She's giving information. She's giving out information.
These are personal, chairman. I think I'm done. Chairman. I mean, how much you spend to a school depends on your pocket. Some parents spend more. I know children who are named after me. I take them to school. All you get are the basic things. How much you pay, and that costs you depends on you. But that is certainly not a policy. The policy of free SHS, we adopted it. It's reported. How much cost government takes is known. As for the others, I think we should leave that. Please,
Chairman,
let's proceed.
Chairman, we are proceeding.
Information minister here. The things we put out need to be clear to the public because we are members of parliament. People walk to our offices in the constituency and ask you to pay monies which are far in more than what even when school fees were being paid. And they tell you, but it's free SHS. So it's not politics any longer.
It's okay. It's not, please.
Honorable Nominee, I'll leave you. Honorable Mr. Yukami, you said something about, let me just.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Congratulations, my Honorable Fatima, too. And I also wish you a happy International Women's Day. I'm very happy and highly elated by your delivery here this, morning. And I'm highly convinced that we found the right person for our information ministry. I want to, on a day like this, which is International Women's Day, I want to reiterate that investing in women is not only a moral imperative, it is an economic and social necessity. And I also acknowledge that empowering women is not just the right thing to do, but it is the smart thing to do. By your delivery, I realize that you have the potential to inform Ghanaians of a number of things. We have in our bosom here in Parliament, in the House, the Affirmative Action Bill. It is yet to be debated. but we also have to keep the public, especially our women and children and everybody, informed about what is in the bill and why we have to pass the bill into law. If given the nod, what will be your strategy to ensure that people are well informed, or we create the awareness to ensure that if we are being attacked by people who don't want to see the law, people who understand and rise up to it? Do you have a strategy for that, please?
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. They say there is strength in numbers. And my first recommendation to the House, especially the Gender Caucus, is that in some of these things, in terms of advocacy, when you get unanimous, the support of all key stakeholders, even from the executive, and it is treated as a matter of public interest, that is when you really get a lot of people on board. And you can do that by two ways. First of all, adopt a farming approach. There are so many people over the years who have been fighting for the same cause. If there is a bipartisan approach to get all those people to come on board to help with advocacy in mass media, in the House, in churches, that will be fine. And subsequently, to reach out to people who may be impediments or who may not find reason in passing the affirmative action bill. So more education and continuous education and engagement with all the key people will help us arrive at a bill that is well received. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I get that assurance from you that you are going to support us in that respect?
Honorable Chair, given the opportunity, if I am blessed by this committee and I get to be minister, I assure you that I will offer you our MOI platform for the caucus to come and engage Ghanaians and talk more on affirmative action.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nominee. You mentioned that it tried to inform. You adopt multiple approaches when you were given answers to some of the questions that were put to you. One of my observations, especially in my region, Ashanti region, when you move out, the concerns of the people in Ashanti region is that your government has worked, has done a number of developmental projects, they've taken a number of social interventions, but you are not being able to articulate these achievements well. As a Minister of Information, you have adopted the meet the press approach. And it's always done in English. Don't you think that the language barrier is not creating the forum for, or the opportunity for people to understand exactly what has been done? And therefore, there is the need to vary the approaches to keep people informed. What would you do differently to let our people, because I'm really impressed by the answer you gave or the prompting that you gave for the free senior higher education. And I think there are more information out there that can be churned out for people to appreciate that the country is coming to a halt, the country is bankrupt, are all propaganda. And that we have to do away with such statements. But what strategy would you adopt to, to, ensure that?
I agree that we can do better in terms of looking at the language map of Ghana and granting adequate representation in terms of the languages that we use. That being said, Honorable Chair, in 2022, we started a project on the Meet the Press platform called the State of the Regions Reports, where we brought each regional minister to come and talk about the things that government has done in the region. By the grace of God, if I get your blessings, what I intend doing is to send the State of the Regions report to every region and make sure we have the town hall formats and we are able to come up with their exhibition materials and show what they have done within the period. So I'm praying that when the time comes, the committee and others will advocate for us to get the needed support in terms of funding to execute that. Thank you.
Honorable, I wish you very well. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, nominee, on this State of the Regions report, will you accept that one of the reasons why the communication doesn't flow is because sometimes there's nothing to talk about? Regional minister to go and trump up roles in the region. I'm sure he will find it very difficult. He will tell you, because I mean, you go to Secondita, so that probably is a reason why that has been a challenge as well. Will you agree?
Honorable Chair, respectfully, I have a different opinion to that. I believe that is not the issue. Every single region could be that even when they come to Accra, after the press briefing, if we had done it in the respective regions, they will be able to do media tour on the various local platforms with the same journalists who came to cover the events. That will enhance the quality of engagement and conversation therein. Also in Accra, you have to buy airtime for all media houses that are prominent in the region. And as mentioned earlier, sometimes our ministry is constrained in terms of funding to pay for the airtime for us to air.
Huge achievement in Takrady. So I'm surprised to say that he has nothing to show. Well, because he's probably not going home in a long while. To Zuma, not Takrady. Then goes to Zuma. Honorable Minister, my particular interest is in the social media space. There's so much disinformation and deliberate lies put out against individuals, misrepresentation of individuals, the groups that have the statement. Unfortunately, those are the statements that are published against the name of the person who granted the interview, and it becomes assigned to you. People repeat it without reading the content. Now, how do you think we can deal with this situation?
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Because of the digital revolution, the information space in terms of social media, AI, is something that we are all learning along the way. We did not know better than even the young people who are using it for content creation, among others. Over the period, at least in the last decade, we are building something. And I'm happy to inform you that today in Ghana, the bloggers have brought themselves together and formed the New Media Association of Ghana. GJ plays a supervisory role. They themselves have agreed to sit at the table for us to look at how we can enhance capacity, give the guidance for the best practices, among others. We've been working hand in hand with all of them as a key stakeholder within the sector. In the past, there was nothing like that in existence, and they were working in silos. But since the association came on board a few months ago, we are making progress and see how best they can adopt the best practices. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Are you defining some parameters for them within which to operate?
Honorable Minister, not by policy, but by the rule of law. We are making sure what already exists in our constitution, they are compliant. What they themselves have put under their hand as their code of ethics and have invited all of us to go and launch, they are observing more in compliance than in breach. So now there is something to hold them to, that you formed association to make sure you get the respect, to make sure you are doing the right thing, to make sure your members are acting together as a collective unit, and we are supporting that. So it will be difficult for them to go back on their word when they themselves have initiated this process to engage and make sure they adhere to the best practices.
I'd like to have probably more engagement out of here, but you talked about a platform for the fact-checking. As I've said, for many of the communities outside Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, information is channeled through radio programs. The local language presenters have the tendency to exaggerate in their reports. They create way too much drama around simple facts, such that sometimes the fact itself is lost or missing in the reportage. Sometimes also, their choice is only to pick from the social media and they have no means of verifying or they do not verify. You've talked about the Ghana.com. That is only for content that is coming from government. Do you have any plan to look at fact-checking with content not from government, but generally about ordinary people before they publish them?
Honorable Chair, it's a good observation of what actually pertains in the space, but because of all the laws that constrains the ministry, sometimes there is a limit to what we can do outside misinformation relating to government programs and projects or appointees. What we can do within that space is to encourage. Honorable Chair, what we can do within that space is, first of all, to do sensitization and ask people to verify first. Even do sensitization for journalists. Because as you are aware, the media space is not filled with only practitioners who have been through journalism school. There are also people who have had the benefit of practicing because of their talent and their passion for the work. They may not be so minded of what is ethics, what is allowed, what is a threshold you shouldn't reach. So, Honorable Chair, if we had the required support and funding, more engagement and education, and for people to hold themselves accountable, because if I sit here and say we will censor, we will hold them accountable right now, the next story that you will see tomorrow will not be the best. So we are somehow constrained by the current
legal regime. It will not even reflect
regime.
The exact content of what you said. It will give you the heading that will demonize you, not for the fact of what you said, but their choice. And they claim that headings or headlines is the preserve of editors. And yet they'll put it in your mouth. What was the last one which you put against my name? Unemployed graduates are miseducated. And they put my name there. Right? I had an interview at a radio station, and my concern was that our educational system takes us away from the wealth in our land. And so our educational system does not help us to generate wealth from our land. The next time, the headline was, unemployed graduates are miseducated. And they put.
When you're communicating, which language do you use?
I spoke in English. And yet they go and put out something which is totally different. And not many people will read the content. Obviously, he did not even listen to the interview. But he creates something and put your name against it. And they insist that it is the heading and it is their priority. If it's or your president, why don't you put your name against that and you put my name against that? This is the challenge. Unfortunately, I recall I attended a conference with Honorable St. George in Berlin, and the issue was attack on the media. But then we'll turn the reverse. Who protects the individual who is on everyday basis misrepresented, insulted, and denigrated? Who represents us? Who protects our interest?
Honorable Chair, the National Media Commission has the mandate, and I pray that we will encourage them to crack the whip and enhance enforcement, because if they do that, the public will have the assurances that when there is any such infraction, the perpetrators will be dealt with.
Very well. I'll leave it here. But I want us to keep thinking about the reverse of the allegation that media harassment, because somebody who lives in a different environment comes here 2 days and says that we are harassing media people, when in fact it's the other way around. It's media people who are harassing public office holders, elders, misrepresenting chiefs, community, everybody. So we will continue to discuss how to deal with this menace to the public. On this note, I thank you for attending upon the House.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
A short list of people to acknowledge. Yusuf Abubakar, the Director of Jane Savings and Loans. We thank you for coming to support the nominee. Alhaji Alhassan Muftal, Moshizongo Buzanga Chief. We thank you for attending upon the House to our support her. Yunus Mohammed, the Kusasi Waziri Moshizongo. We thank you for coming to support the nominee. Abbas Musa Naimi of Moshizongo. Thank you. Professor Amin Alasan, the Director General of GBC. We thank you for coming. Mrs. Charlotte Morgan Esiedu, Chief Director of the Ministry of Morgan Esiedu. Oh, okay. Nice to see you. Fatih Lili Swale, the Director of Ministry of Information. Boahine. Is it Lily, the advisor to the ministry? Okay, Ministry of the Minister Frederick Ajima Mensah, the constituency chair. We thank all of you for coming to support. Alice Zu. How can you misrepresent somebody's name like that? We thank you for coming to support the nominee. Nominee, you are discharged now. You will hear from us later. Yes. Hello. Kindly bring the next nominee, please. Member of this. Yes. Kindly administer the oath to the Honorable. Kindly administer the oath.
I,
Dr. Benjamin Yeboah Secretary. I, Benjamin Yeboah Secretary, Doctor.
swear by the Almighty God
Swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall
be the truth,
the truth,
the whole truth,
and
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Yo, nyame bɛboa wo. Kasa yie, nyɛ saa waa.
Honorable Dr. Benjamin Yeboah.
Mr. Speaker.
You are a very popular MP amongst the ladies in the house. Very, very. Today I noticed that all the women are excited that their husband is appearing before the committee today. I'm surprised that not many of them are here to give you support.
Mr. Speaker, you're right. They are coming. They are on their way.
They are on their own. So the most critical thing is that by law and by the Constitution, you qualify to be a Minister of State or a Deputy Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is my second term. I was once Deputy of Regional Minister.
Really?
Yes, please.
So you've appeared before us already?
This is my second time.
Okay, good to know that. Right. But we will need you to tell us a little more. In the last 3 years, if anything has changed in your CV, kindly share that with us.
Mr. Speaker, what has changed is I'm now a PhD holder. As at that time, I wasn't. That's the only difference now. And basically, that is the only thing. There is no change. Maybe the committee and yeah, that's all, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Very well. The committee, as it was constituted then, had the benefit of taking through this process for confirmation as a Deputy Regional Minister. Now you're being assigned to a different role. Tell us what you think you can do differently in the Ministry of Gender, Children and...
At the first time of Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo, I was given a deputy half regional minister to deputize Honorable Evans Opoku-Bobie. This time too, by the grace of God once again, in the wisdom of President, he said I should go and support. I'll be a deputy to gender, children and social protection. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, you know my talent. And you know what I can do better. Not in terms of only women alone, but in terms of, it has been one of my Honorable Mr. Speaker and Mr. Chair, I believe that when I talk about my talents, I want to mean the way I relate with people, how social I am. And you know I can do more. That is why in the wisdom of President, he decided that I should go and support the gender ministry.
What more can you do?
I didn't hear your question, Mr. Chairman.
You can do.
What I believe I can do is assigned to me. As energetic as I am, I can support the cause for us to achieve our goal. Mr. Chairman, I didn't see anybody, including the women in the House. I can do better to support the gender.
No, don't be defensive. You can be good with women. It's okay.
Recently, I heard, when I was in the waiting room, I heard speaker talking about how bloggers pick issues and divert it. So I need to clear my name, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
There are no bloggers here.
Very well. In fact, let me put it on record that he's reputed to be a friend of all the women in the House. So we call him the husband of all the women. Nothing antisocial. All right. Now, can you tell us what policy you think or what policy there is to support women, children in particular, children in distress, of any, and how can you make sure the policy is implemented to the advantage of children in distress?
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, let me use Mr. Chairman. Sorry for human trafficking. And I believe that when they were briefing us, there were a lot of issues that concern children, in terms of children being used on the voter lake and the rest. Then I also believe in a policy in terms of school feeding, how government can also expand it to cover almost all schools if there's the need. And I believe all those things are purposive towards children, which, if we all advocate for it more, is going to help achieve so much for the children.
Very well. Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Dr. Yeboah, I bring you greetings from the Women Caucus in Parliament. They've asked me to wish you well because you are one member of Parliament who is concerned about the welfare of women generally. So we're not surprised that you've been nominated to the Gender Ministry. We know that your wife is a very lucky woman because you are very caring. And then you are always looking out for women from both sides. And we think that we have to commend you for that. That notwithstanding, there are questions for you to answer to prove that you'll be able to handle this ministry well. Gender-based violence remains a prevalent and devastating issue in a high number of domestic violence areas. Sexual assault, harmful traditional practices, just to mention a few. If you are given the nod, how are you going to assist your minister bring all these to a very barest minimum?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know there are a lot of domestic issues. A lot of things are being meted against women and maybe children also. And if I'm given the nod, I'm going to assist my minister to ensure. I know there are laws which needs to be enforced. And I know we have to also give a lot of education, sensitization. Some people assume that maybe if they don't beat their partners, then they are not man enough. And I believe that by the grace of God, we have a lot of media houses, which if I'm given the chance, I'm going to champion that. Because I believe that even your child shouldn't be beaten. So your wife being your partner should not be a medium of you trying to exercise your strength. If you have the strength, then let's try and give you the ring so that you can go professional and earn something for the country. So I will be an advocate for that, and the laws should work towards that. Thank you.
Thank you. You are only not man enough if you can't take care of your family. If you are beating your wife, you are not man enough, because you should be beating another man so that you see that the strength is equal. Yeah. So man and man, if you are strong enough, fight another man, not your wife. Yes. Women also beat men. That would be a very good relief for a change. Yes. So you don't have much time at the ministry. What are some of the things you do to assist your minister make a mark for the country in terms of gender, women, and social protection?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I know we don't have time. And I know there are a lot that needs to be done. And when we go to the ministry, I know for sure they will tell us wherever they've reached in terms of some of their policies and ideas. Then I will help my minister for us to execute them. For now, I don't know much because I don't know wherever they've reached in terms of any of their programs. But I know something like school feeding. When we went for a briefing, they told us of outstanding balances which they need to get for the caterers. All these are some of the things we have to fight. We are not going to relax. Not fighting in terms of the normal fighting, but we'll pursue and ensure we get that money for them to settle some of the caterers. So there are a lot we have to do within this shortest possible time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. That will be all.
Honorable Atacha.
Honorable Dr. Benjamin Yabua Setre, congratulations.
Thank you, Ofa.
Yes, I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to add a lot of quality to the place where you are going.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm also equally glad that you are a man of intellect, that you've now become a PhD.
Mr. Speaker, I'm also at faculty.
Oh, you are in the law
about
faculty?
to finish my law school.
Yes. The sky is the limit for you. I can see on your CV that you are a Christian. Can you quote to the hearing of Chairman your favorite scripture?
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten.
I'll ask you just one question. You see, in the area of social protection, if I understand it very well, do you believe that parents should have a lot of children? Some people believe that we should have a lot of children, or we should think about the quality of children we should have, and therefore be measured in the number of children we give birth to. What is your sense of that? Do we have this, if you like, the philosophy of antiquity, in which the more children you have, then you can enlarge your farm area and that kind of thing, so the children will become farm hands for you. labor force. And they said things were not as difficult as now. So in the now moment, and on the issue of social protection, do you believe Ghanaians should be educated so that they'll be measured in the number of children they want to have, with the view that it is not the number, but the quality of children you can raise and invest in? What is your take on that, sir?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as a Christian, I believe that everyone has a right to live. And I believe that having more children is not bad. I believe also that maybe these days, those who can raise children, like you, if you are fathering about 10, 20, you can do. But you decide to go for 1 or 2. And those who cannot afford decide to have 10, 15, 20, and push the burden on those who can afford. So I believe that for number of children that you want to have, as many as you want, I believe is the right thing you have to do. But you have to cut your coat according to your size. Thank you.
This is just a follow-up. When you say as number of the children that you want to have, what is your measurement of that? Because if, for instance, a man decides that I want to have 21 children, and he's a teacher at Chibi, and you know his pocket size, what is that? What's the meaning of as many as you want to have? You don't believe we should you should think about the children?
I believe we have to think about the children. And I also believe that the man at Chebi, if he's having 10, then it means that in his wisdom, he thinks he can care for the 10. That's why he's having it. And I don't think the problem is the number that you want to have, but maybe your environment. If you find yourself in Dema, where I come from, where education is not as expensive as it is, and you think you can have 5, I believe you are right. But if you find yourself in East Legon, that you have to maybe pay 10,000 per term for a child, and you believe that you can have only 2, I also think it's the right thing. But within me as a Christian, I believe that I am the seed-born of my parents. If they decided to have 2, I wouldn't have been sitting here by now. And I also believe that my mother lost all the 4, left with only 2 at tender age. So if he also decided to go for 2, he wouldn't have gotten the rest. And by the grace of God, and thankful to my constituency, they've also elevated me to this standard. So I believe that if you decide to, limit it, sometimes the blessings or those that God is going to use to bless you will be far, not near, but afar. So having more, I don't have any problem as a Christian. But I believe that your ability to care for them should also be measured.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Dr. Benjamin Yeboah Secretary, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Yeboah, with your CV and your interaction with us at Parliament, and with the little experience I've had at the Gender Ministry, with the stress and with all the categories of people, I want to encourage you to say that from the experience I have, you are fit for that schedule. With your sense of humor and the way you calm everybody down, all that I will say is keep that up, and people could say that the best appointment done so far is taking Dr. Benjamin Yeboah Secretary to the Gender Ministry to support his minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair, I think this is the best message I've also received for the year. Thank you very much.
One of your wives is congratulating you, so I'm not surprised. Yes.
Well, I can only jealous you with the volume of accolades and things women are pouring on you. I'm sure majority of Ghanaian men will be very jealous of you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I wish you
and
well.
I believe that my leader will be measured also. Thank you very much.
Yes, I can say that you are affable, you are easy to relate to, and obviously that should be a good attribute if you are going to be in public service, without a doubt. School feeding. In your opening remark, you said so that you can work to make sure school feeding is everywhere. In your view, is school feeding not supposed to be poverty? And we should rather be working to address poverty so that it is not the responsibility of the state to say that when my child leaves home, it is somebody else's responsibility for him, or he's going to school because there will be food, which is in itself is very sad when we say these things, because as a country, when you give birth and you say that my child is enticed to go to school because there will be food, not because there's absolute need for him to go to school, I should know that the child must go to school. Do you think the policy should be to make sure the school feeding everywhere rather than addressing poverty, so that it is the responsibility of the guardian to ensure the child is well nourished to pursue education?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair, to answer your question, if you look at it critically, in a community where we have school feeding in school A and school feeding not in school B, you get to know that the population in school A that is having school feeding is more compared to B, which is not having school feeding. In every way of motivating a child to go to school, feeding is part, or food is part. So I believe that it is not demeaning for somebody to use school feeding as a base of going to school, but instead we should use it as a tool that will motivate children to go to school. There are a lot of places, we that are come from small communities, sometimes after school, you have to follow your parents or you have to go to farm so that you can get food to eat by the time you get to them. So having this as a system that is helping the students, I believe that it is very good. And if government is having the strength, we have to cover the whole country. Because with my intervention or interaction with Committee on Poverty and Poverty Reduction Strategy, I get to know that even urban poor is so massive compared to rural poor. So with school feeding, I believe that it's a very good intervention, which we shouldn't just look at it as only the motivating factor, but it's part of it that also encourages students to go to school. I have a community that is sharing boundary with Ashanti region. Ada and Asuso. Asuso is Ashanti region. Ada is my constituency. And it's about few kilometers away. Students from Ada were going to school at Asuso because of school feeding. Until we had one for them, then that exodus of movement reduced. So not necessarily they were going for quality education, but parents think that at least if they cannot afford, the children will be fed. And I think it's the best. Thank you.
I agree with you. I think we are saying the same thing, that it is supposed to address something. And yes, if the child is hungry, obviously that child is not going to be able to pay attention and learn. But what I'm asking is if you think that it is an issue of encouraging government to spread school feeding everywhere. For instance, if you go to some schools in Accra, Kumasi, let's say they are more endowed, majority of the schools are more endowed. So you take school feeding to a school. So if my daughter goes to that school, my daughter is also supposed to be fed. But God knows I am capable of feeding my daughter. So, but the government, it's not as if government have got the funds to do this anyway. As you and I know in this house, last year, we have to even borrow money from abroad and pay interest on it to carry out school feeding. How can that be a long-term policy of any group of people? Because you are now feeding your children not from your own resources. You are actually borrowing the future of other children to feed their children today. So my point is, don't you think we should be having a policy that addresses poverty and reduces the reliance of people on the state that my child should go to that school because I'm unable to provide breakfast and lunch for my ward?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair, it also interests you to know that when your child goes to that school, your child eats the food. She doesn't say, maybe my father fed me, so I won't eat. They also eat it. And I believe that it's something that every government should make it a policy. If we can establish a fund purposely for that, so that they won't go and borrow anywhere, and we can just be feeding them, I think it's something we have to employ.
Chairman, I think, I believe our colleague would be a good support to the minister, and maybe when you get there, explore possibly other ways of social intervention that addresses long-term this problem, because I don't think any government finding money to be doing this is sustainable, especially in the times in which we are, and we are running out of money. And also, I feel as parents or as a society, surely have policies that takes care of the vulnerable. But a society where everybody feels that all that government is about is to promise or to say you can have everything for free. It is also, yes, it is also a dangerous way of not making people aspire to explore their best capabilities to advance themselves in society. So explore that one as well. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Leader.
Dr. Mafu.
Thank you very much. My good friend, Dr. Sache, let me also congratulate you on your nomination. I have just two questions to ask. The first one, I just want your reflection on how do you think we can support parents who have children with developmental difficulties or children like autism and other syndromes. How do you think as a country we should be facing that challenge, especially parents who have these children and are low-income earning parents?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, lucky for me, I have worked with School for the Deaf at Bichim almost 3 years or something, if my memory serves me well. I understand their situation very well or very much. And I believe that we have to support them. And I know at District Assembly Common Fund Secretary, there's a portion of their formula for disabled. And I also know there are some interventions that, especially the School for the Deaf, for the blind, autistic schools and the rest, there are some funds that we pay towards their feeding and the rest in schools. And I believe government should do much for them. Because if government doesn't support, some of the parents are also down that they cannot help those children integrate into the society. And I was also briefed that at LEAP, these are some of the indicators they look in helping those parents. So I believe it's very good intervention which government should support. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure you've heard about the LGBTQ+, and one prominent politician responded that the LGBTQ+ is not the problem. The problem is side chicks. He said that side chicks pose more challenge to our society than LGBTQ+. I want your opinion on polygamy and side chicks. What's your opinion on polygamy and side chicks?
Mr. Chairman, please, I don't understand what side chicks is. So if you can explain.
For side chicks, it's a term that has been devised to describe extramarital relationships. So when you are a man and you have a girlfriend, they call it side chick.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, we are being governed by rules and regulations. And our constitution also is the Bible that we use to govern us. If whatever you are terming or you are explaining is not against the law, then who am I to also condemn anybody on his act? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll very well. Somebody is suggesting that side chicks are from 18 to 23. Once they cross 23, they should be side hen, not side chick. Yes, leader.
Thank you, my leader.
Congratulations.
Thank you, my leader.
I mean, you've been...
So, whatever I'm doing, I'm also learning from you, my leader.
I really want you to tell us your secret or the things you've done to really win the heart of all the women in Parliament who have sent a delegation, especially on your vetting day, to come and congratulate you and tell you that they appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe in humility. He who that is humble, God. Everybody that encounters me will tell you that I don't mind that moving with colleagues, I will even carry chair for them whilst I will stand. So I believe that these things is paving way for me and everybody feels comfortable around me. In fact, and I also don't take fault when somebody meets you and call you maybe Tintin, Tietia, and all those things. I believe that that is my nature, God made so. I shouldn't be proud, I should be humble and move with everybody. That is my secret, Mr. Chairman.
Great. I see you had your PhD not too long ago. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What was the focus of your research, your thesis?
I know definitely you asked. I decided to do an assessment on the effect of procurement practices on value for money. Then I used schools in Ahafo as my catchment area.
I see you've also attended some conferences.
Yes, please. Yes,
and
please,
one of the
Chairman.
conferences had to do with some procurement. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
So you know a little bit about procurement.
Yes, please.
Good. You are going to be working with a government that promised that we are going to really address all the lapses in procurement. In fact, we appointed a whole Ministry of Procurement. Today, this government's record when it comes to sole sourcing is really unmatched in the history of our republic. What, in your view, must we do as a country to make sure we address all the lapses in the procurement processes that really cost us so much money?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I believe the question is on how we can bridge those lapses. but not in terms of whether this government has been doing sourcing, which I don't have data to that. But I believe that in terms of procurement, we should do well to eliminate the human interface. Sometimes if somebody is going to procure something, and because most people don't understand the system, they try to influence the system, whereby instead of them going for the 3 quotations, sometimes they end up taking one, the supplier adding other quotations to the person so that it will go to the person and the rest. So I believe that when we reduce the human interface, where most of the times, maybe we advertise it in papers, you apply it online, the team will not ask you to come and meet them until you are selected. In those circumstances, there won't be that favoritism and the rest. And for that matter, the system itself will run. And I think that will be very much, if we decide to go on that line, than somebody holding the file, going to buy the tender document, going for somebody to open the bid, everything, human interactions. In that way, there will be favoritism and the rest, and it's not going to help the procurement systems.
See, you attended a conference also in Washington, 24 June to July 2nd, 28.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
On sanitation management in selected states. What were some of the lessons you learned during that conference that were relevant for our situation in Ghana when it comes to sanitation that affects so many children?
Thank you very much. By the grace of God, I went to that conference on the ticket of Local Government Select Committee when I was a member. We went to Washington and we went to understudy their system. And lucky for us, when we came back, Zoom Lion is also having similar projects that is embarking on. When you go to the Mudo, when you go to the Tema, their landfill site, when you go to Kumasi and the rest. So realize that it wasn't much difference. But what I realized in Washington was that the gas that was flaring out, that they were burning, some were being used for communities around the refuse area where they were getting their light from. So I believe that Zoom Lion has also been able to trap that. But here, we are burning it. So if we can take advantage, the schools around can harvest it, the communities around, they can harvest it for their lighting system and their cooking and the rest. I believe it will reduce our national problems.
LEAP, the Auditor General says that 15.8 million, and this was in 2017 to 2022, was spent because of we paying to people who are dead. We are overspending. In some instances, we are putting people who are not qualified to be there. And oftentimes, they are political operatives. LEAP. Exactly what will you do working with your minister to really address those lapses in the LEAP program?
Mr. Chairman, I believe we have to digitalize. That is the best. Human interface is creating all these problems for us. We have to ensure everybody is having the Ghana card. Those who qualify are paid direct. If you die, the system should be able to track you so that the human interface, else may not even qualify.
You know the qualification, the criteria for qualifying for LEAP?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, when we went for the briefing, they told us that the person must be an orphan and vulnerable children. Then two, they should be aged, elderly, that is 60 years and above, who are poor. Then they said those who are disabled without productive capacity to work. Then they also said pregnant women and lactating mothers with infants under 1 year. These are the things that...
Digitalization can solve this?
Yes, pardon me.
Digitalization as your solution?
No, I'm talking about how we can reduce the interface, the human interface, so that somebody won't bring somebody who doesn't qualify. Because, truth be told, in my community, there are some people who are benefiting. And I know some people who are more vulnerable. But when they come and they ask, do you have mobile phone? And you say, yes, I have mobile phone, you are disqualified. And it's also possible that the phone that the person may be holding, even water, will be heavier than that phone. So please, I'm thinking that we have to reduce the human interface. And I think it's a major concern. When I go, I'll advise my minister, and we have to work towards that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The welfare department is underfunded. The personnel are not there. It's a very critical institution that could do so much. But in other jurisdictions, when you hear social work, children and abuse of women, children that are really neglected, that need to be protected by the state. This is really the work of that department. Exactly what will you do to strengthen, to make sure that they can perform their duties?
Went for briefing. They have done a lot, but it's not enough, because still we have street children, we have other children that needs protection and the rest. So when we get the chance of going there, I will try my best to convince my minister so that we work towards that also. We were told that some of the children that they were able to take them away, they are going to school. Then they brought another group in addition to them. What they realized is that when they asked them not to go out, those that came started all fled away. Those that accompanied them out went 2 days time, they came back because they couldn't get any place to sleep out there. So there are a lot of challenges that the department is facing. And as you said, lack of funding and the rest. I think we have to make a case for them so that Ghanaians can also see their plight. Some people go to children's home, but if they get to know that those people are also there who needs an assistant, definitely they will support us so that we can also care for those people. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Benjamin.
Mercy. Thank you very much, Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Benjamin Sechere. Mrs. Sechere is congratulating you for this opportunity. Friends are this. He's a polygamist. I know about that.
Mr. Chairman, in fact, my part is the leader. Anybody follows her.
Thank you very much. Honorable, have you had the opportunity of looking at the affirmative action bill?
I have heard about it, but I have not had the opportunity to read.
Because you are going to support the minister to ensure the passage of this particular bill. So I want you to have a critical look at that one. But today, great as the women. I had a message, and the message reads, as we mark International Women's Day, bit of our lives, by fostering understanding, empathy, acceptance and empowerment. This is the message. As the Deputy Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, what will you do to ensure, one, that you are going to, with your type of personality, you are going to encourage your fellow, your colleagues in Parliament to ensure the smooth passage of this bill into law? And the other aspect is, how are you going to propagate and ensure that all people all Ghanaians come into terms with what is in this bill, which is calling for equity and ultimately equality? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, my part, for International Women's Day, and all women here, and those who are hearing my voice. I will partner my minister In fact, wherever I find myself, I've been hearing about this bill, and I know it is something that all women want it to be passed. And, you know, I don't have the strength as deputy, but I'll try my best and do everything possible to give my leader, who is my minister, a very good push so that we ensure the bill is passed. And I know when it comes, the speaker that we have will surely support it to be passed. Thank you very much.
Right, Mr. Chairman. I think I noticed you have one erroneous idea about this bill, and that it's all about women. No. It's all about equity and equality, gender equity and equality. So that the reason why I asked you, how are you going to, you see, with this erroneous idea, I don't see it only in you. It travels among the men. So how are you going to get your male colleagues to understand why it is important and critical that we pass this law? That is the question I asked.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, in fact, I don't have much idea about what it entails. And I don't know why, as at now, the bill has not been passed. And if I want to talk about it, I'll be just speaking out of my mind. So I believe that I will sit down with my minister, we go through it, and ensure the right thing is done. Thank you very much.
I trust your judgment. I trust the way you relate with people, and I know you're going to do wonderful when it comes to the passing. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. That's all that I have. I wish you the best of luck.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Dr. Zetre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There's one perception I want you to work out when you go. Generally, the word gender appears to refer to only women. So when even men are mis or maltreated, nobody pays attention to them. I want you in the ministry. Do you think we can redefine or re-evaluate the meaning of gender to cover all male and female? In our country, there's no room for any other, either male or female. That's it. So that the ministry will focus on both sides.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. It will interest you to know that when, in the wisdom of the President, he asked me to go to the gender ministry, people were asking me, "Na oyoba, why do you find yourself?" So I have to quickly come and research and find out whether I am the only male that is being sent there. But I realized that I'm maybe the fourth person to be there. So, and it was only Honorable Jogati who met me and said, Secretary, be fortunate. Where you find yourself is very good. You will rise. Then I said, Papa, you are the only person that is encouraging me. Everybody is mocking at me. That why do President take you to... I remember in a law class, my lecturer that I sought permission from, that President is asking me to come to Jubilee at 9 o'clock. So in terms of the class, I will leave. Then he said, okay, you can go. So I left. The following week, not when he was monitoring what they are going to give me, he came to class and said, I thought you were going to be giving local government or something where we can come. But then so, but I believe that God has a purpose for everything. And I work and I ensure that it is not only a female, but as my party is saying, equality. And that is what is, if we are seeking for equity and equality, then it shouldn't be only females. It's supposed to be both sides, and gender will be redefined. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I want to end here, but I want to recognize that the way you relate to your colleague members is very admirable. And generally, how our female members hold you in high esteem because of how much time, attention, and empathy you had towards them. It's also very. Oh, the women are pampering him. Right. I wish you well, but before I leave you to go, I have this list of people I must acknowledge. The one is the original Mrs. Yeboah. The original one, not the fake ones in Parliament. Mr. Collins of Finam Techi, the MC for Tano South. You're welcome. Mrs. Letitia Africa, Kasua Polyclinic. All right, you're welcome. Mr. Nkwamensa, Chairman of the Patrons, you're welcome. Alhaji Suleimana Rashid, the Constituency Secretary, you're welcome. Rebecca Abebrese, Women Organizer, you're welcome. Mr. Daniel Efia Osman, is that Osman? It's Osman. Efia Kumi, you're welcome. Constituency Treasurer. Daniel Anane, Constituency Assistant Secretary. Michael Kwesi Afakwa, Organizer. And Dr. Afisa Zakaria, the Chief Director of the Ministry of Gender. The first one who I have noticed brought your entire constituency team here. That's very nice of you, constituency executive.
That's why you went on.
Yes. Okay. They are explaining that's why you went uncontested. They protected the space for you. We thank you all for coming to support the Honorable Deputy Minister nominee. For now, you're discharged. You hear from us later.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kindly bring in slide 30, please. Yes, kindly administer the oath.
I, Sylvester Matthew Tete,
swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay. Honorable Sylvester Tete, Deputy Minister Designate for Information, to tell us a bit about yourself. You're a member of Parliament that we know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, again, my name is Honorable Sylvester Matthew Tete, born on the 7th of July, 1977, to the late Joshua Tete Kwesi of Old Ningo and Madam Esther Kokobedebo. I grew up in the Asin North District. I went to the Ghana National College in 1995 to 1997. After my secondary education, I had to work for a while before I went to the university, Regent University, Science and Technology. I went to the University of Ghana for my master's in Development Finance. I went to University of Professional Studies for another master's in Security and Intelligence. And before I came to Parliament, I was appointed in 2018 to 2019 as the E-Waste Fund Administrator of the Electronic Waste Management Fund. I was also appointed in September 2019 as the CEO of the National Youth Authority. I served as a board member of the Regional Lands Commission Board representing the Ningo Pram District. Of course, I serve as a member of the Local Government Committee and also Vice Chairman of the Communication and Informations Committee of Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very well. Now, on YEA.
Mr. Chairman, NYA.
NYA, National
Youth Authority, Mr. Chairman.
So tell us exactly what you did as the head of the National Youth Authority.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. The youth. At the time I got to the National Youth Authority, I spent 1 year, 3 months there. There were a few issues at the National Youth Authority, and the President asked me to step in there based on some procurement issues, and some investigation had been carried out. I got there, I continued the plans of the authority. Mr. Chairman, one of the notable things I led to do at the National Youth Authority is to continue to spearhead the youth resource centers that were built around the country, and of course, trying to validate the national youth policy at the time. There were many transformations we did with respect to the district offices where the National Youth Authority offices are located across the country. Have been reputed to have renovated and improved the working conditions of the various districts across the country. Mr. Chairman, during my tenure as the CEO of the National Youth Authority, I managed to win the bid to host the Youth Connect Africa. In fact, it happened whilst I left office, but I'm grateful to God that I represented the country in Kigali, Rwanda, where Rwanda had been the sole host of this all-important African event for the youth, and I managed to win the bid for Ghana. Those who succeeded me, Honorable Pius Ajide and the team, took over and successfully hosted the Youth Connect Africa here in Accra. It was one of the successful events that we hosted by the National Youth Authority, and for that matter, Ministry for Youth and Sports. So these were a few things I did there as a CEO.
Now, share with us the National Youth Authority. What is the central theme of setting up? Why? What do we seek to achieve as a country by setting up this National Youth Authority?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. The central theme of the National Youth Authority is to imbibe in the young people of this country nationalism and patriotism, and to unearth their talent to compete favorably with any youth anywhere they find themselves, and also to foster friendship and relationship among the young people around the globe. So you need to position and center the youth of this country in the Committee of Nations everywhere they find themselves. And that is why you look at the National Youth Policy. It's a 10-year span. So when I got there, the African Union had assisted Ghana to revise the National Youth Policy that had been on the shelves for a very long time. And we did a roadshow. So if you look at the central theme of the National Youth Policy, it's an institution that coordinates all youth-led institutions for youth mainstreaming in our body politics or governance. There are many silos of youth policies dotted in all ministries, departments, and agencies. There should be a coordinating point of all youth policies or all youth programs at the central body. So it's an authority that supervises and coordinates. There is no agency or ministry or department of government that do not have youth component of their programs. But there must be an institution of state responsible for coordinating and ensuring it meets the aspirations within the 10-year framework that we have as a national youth policy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm interested in the patriotism. Chief, that's central, one of the central themes. What activities do you undertake to achieve patriotism, and how successful were you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, to inculcate the spirit of patriotism among the young people of this country, what we did was to moderate youth parliament across the country, first of all, so that they have a feel of governance and how bills are done. So we have district youth parliament, we have regional youth parliament, and national youth parliament to inculcate in the good people of this country spirit of patriotism by giving out to their country. We have volunteer groups drawn from the young people of this country. When COVID came, I was at the National Youth Authority. We drew about 3,000 volunteers to give back to society for free of charge. And that's kind of a patriotism we try to imbibe in the young people of this country. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity again.
Very well. Other members, I'll come back to patriotism, but it will take time. So I will allow other members to ask questions. So we'll proceed from here. Yes. Yes.
Yes, Honorable Sylvester Tete, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ohene.
Yes, but people are fond of calling you sly, which has very negative connotations, and you don't seem to reject it.
Let me share this story. You know the late Sly Tete, the reputed football administrator, when he passed, on my Facebook, at the time I didn't put Sylvester Tete. My name on Facebook was Sly Tete. And I had a lot of condolences all over the world. That was the day I had to change my name from Sly Tete to Sylvester Tete. Indeed, from school, my friends used to call me Sly. The more you try to tell them, don't call me Sly, I'm Sylvester. The more it takes, so I had no choice. So officially, I'm Sylvester Tete, but among my colleagues, they call me Sly Tete.
Okay. Honorable Sylvester Tete, you know, there is a very poor appreciation of the word propaganda. Some people believe that when you are doing propaganda, you are just trying to foist negative views on the generality of the public. Yes. And you are going into the Ministry of Information. Can you educate the general public what propaganda is and what it is not?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In fact, propaganda within our Ghanaian political sphere, and of course, is more associated, they themselves run away from it.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'm saying that it is not as bad as people note.
No. Chairman, we can take a decision. Our side can take a decision on you right now that Chairman should bring a report to the floor, which is majority decision.
Withdraw that statement.
Because you are not, you should know that you are becoming a part of the executive. You are not on Metro TV with me. So please be guided. Withdraw that statement completely and let's continue.
That will apply to me.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Right. He should withdraw that statement completely.
I'll forward it to you to withdraw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I withdraw unreservedly and apologize. I wanted to make a point with respect to the word propaganda, that in itself, it is not as negative as our political landscape has connoted that to be. It is not. And I think the history of propaganda is to propagate what you believe to be the truth, what you believe to be the message that the masses must have it. And I think within our political sphere, we shouldn't have shied away from it. That is the point I wanted to make. But I think that there's nothing wrong to say I'm propagating something. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to clarify that.
Chairman, your permission. Honorable Tete, I've indeed seen you every morning really engage in serious propagating, as in propaganda. And I'm not surprised that you love the word.
There's negative propaganda and positive propaganda. And in my work, I do positive propaganda.
Honorable Slightete, I want you to pay regard to Article 79(1) of the Constitution. Mr. Chairman, with your kind permission, I'd like to read to the nominee. The President may, in consultation with a Minister of State and with the prior approval of Parliament, appoint one or more Deputy Ministers to assist the Minister in the performance of his functions. Yes. It is a practical knowledge that some ministers sort of dwarfed their deputies. And they didn't want them to function at all. How would you handle a situation in which that's
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I've heard this on many occasions, and at the same time, I've heard of ministers who had given so much opportunity to their deputies to assist them in the discharge of their obligations. So, Mr. Chairman, I can say that I've had a very good working relationship within the party with my boss, the one I'm going to deputize. The prerogative to assist, well, though the president had appointed you, is the sole prerogative of the minister to assign you responsibility to discharge in discharging his or her own obligation. So for that matter, I also think that based on your competencies, if the minister finds you wealthy, he or she will assign you. But I think that records abound that some ministers had given room to others to also function as it were. But same cannot be said of all ministers. I believe that when we go to them by the recommendations of this committee and the prior approval of Parliament, when I go to the ministry, we'll find a very good working relationship to help in discharge the obligations or the vision of the president for that matter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yes. Honorable Sylvester Tete, congratulations.
Mr. Chairman,
the rise of online impersonation scam, particularly on Facebook, has become a significant concern in Ghana. Fraudsters create Facebook pages using profiles of government officials, members of parliament, stars, making what they do. These scams pose a serious threat to online security and financial well-being. Given the prevalence of online impersonation scams targeting Ghanaians on Facebook, how will the Ministry of Information collaborate with relevant stakeholders to address this pressing issue, if you are giving the nod?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm privileged to have been appointed as a vice chairman of this committee, and we've had extensive engagement with the leadership of this committee and members for that matter, with NCA and relevant institutions with respect to how the whole communication industry will be sanitized. As part of the reason, that's why we went to the extent of getting the SIM cards re-registered, and of course, in Parliament here, the police administration came to help verify the account of members of Parliament, some senior members of society, as it were. We'll continue the collaboration and engagement to ensure that I will support my minister to bring most of these things to her attention to ensure that we don't stop here. It's a real menace, and if we don't tackle it, all of us are at risk. On many occasions, I have to issue rejoinders on my Facebook wall about people impersonating me, and to the extent that they had to solicit monies from people. I recounted a very unfortunate incident from somebody I'd known from my hometown in Pram, who had not got in touch with me for a very long time. Somebody sent him a message requesting that, what do you want me to do for you in my name? And he ended up parting with money. In spite of all the disclaimers I've put out there on my social media handle, I believe that all of us had been impersonated one way or the other. I think that the cyber crime unit of the police administration should be engaged more to continuously doing that. In other jurisdictions, there is a serious things that are done to assist public officials and even people with repute in our society. So I'll continue to engage with my minister and, of course, the relevant institution. My brother, Sam George, who had been a senior member of this committee, on many occasions had proffered some solutions to NCA and people within the telecommunication spectrum to ensure that we protect our senior colleagues of Parliament or public office holders for that matter. It's a real menace that I think that will continue to open the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I also take this opportunity to tell the general public that no member of Parliament or minister is offering any job for money. So they should also watch out. Thank you very much.
That's very interesting that some people can believe that, for example, I'll put out that if you want a job, come to me. The people that are chasing me in Bekwai, I can't deal with them, let alone go and put out. The last time I checked, there were 19 fake accounts in my name at the Digital, those people's place. 19 of them. None of them belongs to me. You know, I don't have any of those accounts at all. I put out information, but still people believe what they read, unfortunately. Yes, the leadership want to.
Honorable Slater, congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, my senior.
I see that you've been a board chairman since 2021. Ghana Enterprise Agency.
Thank you, that's right. Mr.
Can you tell us what has been accomplished there, and what do you see as some of the things that are challenging that you've not been able to accomplish at the Ghana Enterprise Agencies?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ghana Enterprise Agency is to assist and define small, medium enterprises in our country for collaboration and support. We've done extensively well in terms of supporting businesses, not only with funding, but training and capacity building, as it were. So the micro, small, medium businesses over time had been supported. The last check, we run about 7 different projects currently for business interventions and support services. The U-Start is currently, we are one of the implementing agencies, as it were. You talk about the Ghana Enterprise Project, or the GETP. We also have what we call the business support. We also have so many things I cannot really mention. We run this project with donor funding from the World Bank and, of course, the MasterCard Foundation that has been very supportive to us. So these are things that we do. Of course, the disappointment with me is that more often than not, the donor partners usually you train, they give you opportunity based on the program that you run to train maybe 5,000 or 10,000 people, and 10% of these numbers will be having the financial funding, as it were. So selection of the beneficiaries of this funding becomes a real challenge. And in most cases now, one of the biggest programs we are running, there's a condition from the World Bank that this is what they had introduced a model called randomized selection of people who benefit. So it becomes very difficult to train 5,000 people or you train 20,000 people. Only few people get opportunity to be given the funding. And I think one of the challenges we've had, if we have enough money, we'll support businesses to scale up to be able to employ more people. One of the things I'm so happy about is women, that we place a lot of premium on women businesses and persons with disability. And that's what we are doing. The conditions for application and then support for business support from Ghana Enterprise Agencies for ordinary businesses is not the same as persons with disability or women. So they have some threshold in terms of the conditions they have to meet to be able to access funding. So these are things that I'm proud of course, but it's not everybody that get a training or go through the training.
You've been saved by the bell. I have 10 questions for you. I won't ask any of them because I have to go to the chamber. I've been called to the chamber. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Leader. I'm grateful, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
It looks like the bell is saving you. Yenyami otrinkwa epionka nugo nyuo enge ohepo because anga waklache enge chamber me. So I would ask you just maybe one or two questions, but so that I can also run and go and vote. Do you think the RTI Commission has met the demands of the Ghanaian public who had a question or a demand for access to government information? Do you think that the RTI Commission and the RTI law has met that need? And if not, in totality, what do you think, since you'll be in the ministry that oversights that agency, what can be done to improve access to information for the Ghanaian people?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think that this is one of the remarkable bills Parliament had passed and subsequently been assented to by the President. It's still at the teething stages, and I think that it comes with its own challenges. However, it is done very well, and I think that every piece of legislation at its initial stages will come with its own challenges. We are working on getting the regulations passed for the RTI Commission, and of course, the challenges, the feedback that we are getting from the public, myself and you, we had report on the RTI Commission. We believe that we are collating all of them, and it will be a piece of advice or a piece of document that I can advise my minister with, so that we do stakeholder engagement to see the challenge people are going to access government information. And that I can assure this committee that with my experience on this committee and what we have been getting from stakeholders, I will advise my minister with a permission that will have a stakeholder engagement to be able to take up this matter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If you're approved by this committee and approved by Parliament, you would be working as Deputy Minister. You have physically witnessed the challenges that the Select Committee has had in exercising oversight responsibility over the ministries that we oversight, information and communication. What commitment are you going to make that you would work with Parliament and its committee as a partner and not as an adversary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as my deputy ranking, you agree with me that we've had a very cordial relationship working with Honorable Kojo Oponkruma, and you've commended him on many occasions that he voluntarily give briefs to this committee, and I'll continue that. I will engage my minister and tell her the number of times Kojo had to give briefings to this committee, and working at the Ministry of Information by your approval and recommendations and prior approval of Parliament, I'll continue the trend where Kojo left off. I've been the beneficiary of how frequent he's met the committee, and I'll continue on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, one last question. I just want to find out from my brother. As Deputy Information Minister, you are Deputy Spokesperson for Government. We're in an election year. Do you still hold the view you held last year that the NDC will beat Bawumia mercilessly with the information service ban?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. And this is a good opportunity to clarify this. I was in a studio, we're discussing our internal primaries. And what I said was that the NDC communicators were making allusions, and that's what I said, and like Mr. Chairman had said, it could be misquoted. So I was referring to a communique coming from NDC communicators. It wasn't coming from myself, but I can assure you, beyond this committee, we'll work to make sure Dr. Bawumia becomes the president.
Chairman, I thank you for indulging me, but I'll tell my brother that I'm confident that what I did to him in Ingo Pram Pram, Joe Mahama will do to Bawumia. I thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Honorable, congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you very much, my
I
brother.
have a piece of advice for you. As a deputy chair to the committee, you know the ins and outs of the committee and then the ministry where you are going. I believe you are going to team up with the minister to deliver your mandate to the people and to the President of the Republic. I have just one question for you. What will you do in assisting your sector minister in the discharge of the mandate and vision of the President with regards to the safety of journalists in our country? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the safety of journalists is ultimate priority to all of us, and we'll continue to ensure that the safety of journalists is prominent in our decisions we take at the ministry. My minister earlier on says, especially the judiciary, the investigative bodies of our country, the police. For instance, if somebody makes a complaint about having been attacked or the apparatus to ensure prosecution, we will also engage them. And I recall a training session for some judges to take this matter seriously. So I believe that with the experience I've gained from this committee, I will support my minister to discharge the President's vision in that regard. Thank you.
Very well. That appears to be either your end. Very well. Okay. That brings us to the end of. Why? You just walked in. Where have you been? Anyway, let me give you one.
Thank you very much. So let me congratulate you. You don't show an indigent the way to his house. I'm sure, having been on this committee and a vice chair for that matter, you are pretty conversant with the issues. So I don't want to repeat it. But the first one, I want to, it's more of a caution. Knowing you for who you are, and sometimes your penchant and your zeal, sometimes to do propaganda for your party. This is an election year, and I know going to the Ministry of Information, partner with your minister, you may take up the mantle of trying to do the issue better than what anybody else would have done in the circumstance. So my caution first is to ensure that what are just purely state matters are state matters, and there won't be a spillover in the bid to do propaganda. The second one is the issue which you have touched briefly on, the issue of the protection of journalists. On the committee, I'm sure all of us have shared very serious concerns about that. But I know that as a deputy, you can compliment your minister in helping to get to the bottom of some of those infractions where journalists, people take the law into their own hands and visit mayhem on journalists. I've always said that the panacea for hunger is not to hold feces in your stomach, it's to get food to eat. So if in the bid to assuage your anger because a journalist has engaged in infractions, I'm sure you are also breaking the law. And we have on record,
Honorable,
and I asked the minister this question, and I want to also ask you. We have unfortunately lost one of our brothers in the name of Ahmed Swale. You are going to the ministry. I'm sure you will be very passionate about trying to get to the bottom of that matter for us to get to the conclusion of who did that dastardly act to one of the most, undoubtedly one of the most conscientious and investigative journalists of our time, so that not only with his family, but this country will be better served when we get to the conclusion of the matter? What would you do to complement your minister to get to the bottom of the matter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, like my minister earlier on said, we are interested in this matter, and of course we continue to hold that matter as one of the key things of the ministry. The police are investigating the matter. We'll keep updating the public with the outcome as they go on this matter, just as my minister said. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions. Unfortunately, the pressures on the House is asking that I immediately bring proceedings to a close when I can and suspend sitting for now. So, all of you, Nime, for coming to assist our friend. I'll just mention the chiefs. Ni Kwashigbolo, the divisional chief of English Yamanfro. Ni Ofe, the third divisional chief of Kokrobite. Ni Kofi Akrashi, chief of Oshiye. And Ni Kwai Aplaku. And all other people who came to support the honorable member. We thank you for attending upon the House. My friend, you're discharged. You're needed in the chamber immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm most grateful.
We hear from us. Thank you. We'll suspend sitting. We'll resume in an hour. Thank you.
GTV, the authentic and trusted voice of Ghana.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ted Spear, pastor of the Fundamental Baptist Church International in Kumasi, Ghana. I'd like to welcome you to join us here on GTV every Saturday morning from 6:30 to 7 a.m. Please join us as we discuss the scriptures